Hey, what's good guys? This is Chris from WearTesters.com. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we got a detailed look at these guys right here. Potential bad boys? Well, I tried them on, you didn't. I would say potential bad boys. And this, my friends, is the Nike PG4, but it's the Gatorade colorway. A little strange.
It's very Nickelodeon-like.
Yes, it reminds me more of a cartoon than Gatorade. But these guys right here are a highly anticipated sneaker for review, performance-wise, most notably, because they kind of switch things up with this model compared to the last three, which I actually think is very interesting. I always find it very interesting when you have a line that's fairly consistent, you know what you're going to get out of it, and then they throw a curveball with the latest model. Because there was no gradual change to this. It was just, we're going with it.
New direction.
Yes, completely. Now these guys right here, as far as tech specs are concerned, they don't feature new tech, they just feature old tech that is newly implemented, I guess you should say, or I should say, can say, could say.
Would say.
Possibly. And that is in the Strobel board, and instead of having full-length zoom for the Strobel, which is what we have back there in the KD12s, and in these guys right here, we have a Strobel board made out of air, but instead it's just regular air. It's not zoom air or anything like that. So for those of you guys that don't know, Nike has been using air cushioning for a very long time. It's not outdated, or it could be considered outdated by many, and it actually is, only when it's applied to a retro. Like if you see this tech in an Air Jordan 11, which is the same tech, the cushioning, or an Air Jordan 10, somehow, some way, somehow it's considered outdated. You throw it into PG4 though, and it's the greatest thing ever. A little bit of a contradiction there. Now the full-length air is in Strobel form, like I was saying, so that means that the component that is stitched onto the upper and then glued and placed onto the midsole platform, that section now, instead of it being this canvasy nylon style material, is the cushion unit itself. This is zoom, so just pretend like it's full-length air. And what that does is when you're stepping inside the shoe, you have a closer connection to the cushioning system than like you would otherwise, because this guy right here, it does have a slight barrier to it. You do have to break it in because it's heavily glued, because they're trying to make sure that this doesn't come off of this. Shout out to the Zoom Freak 1 again. Now, because there is less in between your foot and everything, you do feel what I personally felt when I first tried on the Air Jordan 11 way back in 1995, 96, whatever it was when I got a pair. I got them late, so I know that they came out in 95, but I got them in like 96. But I remember, and I've always said this, that in that shoe, like put my foot in there, walking around, it felt like I was walking on clouds. And that's what this feels like. Foams have changed quite a bit from back then. Some of them are great, some of them are firm. When we're talking about performance, they've really firmed things up quite a bit because they're trying to make things stable. So this guy right here has Phylon. It is very stable, it's very firm. And so having that cushion directly underneath your foot again, it's just one of those things where it's like, you can actually feel it and it feels great. And this is why I keep saying that Air Tech is not outdated. They keep using it for a reason. It's because it's awesome. It is the thing besides Michael Jordan that has taken Nike from what it used to be when it first was made into what you see now, which is the biggest sportswear brand in the world. And the difference underfoot from feeling the Strobel and this, like full-length Air Strobel, to the Zoom one is just that this one feels less bouncy. The other one feels like you got a little bit of spring in your step. These guys right here feel like you have like a, what are those things called? Tempur-Pedic mattress? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Like when you like kind of sink into it a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, and you feel like, oh, that's what this is like. Now real quick, this is the insole. The insole is super thick, and you were calling it funfetti?
Yeah, it looks like a confetti cake.
It looks like confetti cake. It's very fluffy. So this is a lot of what you're feeling right from the get-go. But if you take this out and you stick your foot in the shoe without it, you can still feel the air and everything like that. But this is definitely one of those, like, it can mess with you a little bit. It adds step-in comfort, which is great when you're trying to sell a shoe from a try-on standpoint in the store. Something I thought was interesting though is that they don't recess where the air unit goes like they do with the Zoom. Very interesting. You don't notice it or anything like that. Like with the Zoom unit, with the Jordan 1, because they didn't cut out where the Zoom felt, you can feel the bubbles. It's a little uncomfortable. But with these guys right here, you don't actually feel that stuff. So I think that that's interesting. That's maybe a testament to the air itself, because it's a little bit more of a flat surface. It just has little craters in it and everything like that where the little pockets go. And that is where the traction comes into play. This is supposed to mimic kind of that visual. Not completely, but it's supposed to do that. That's exactly why there's circles there. Unlike last time, which was all about the moon landing. This is much more, I think, of like a proper storytelling where it's like, hey, this is what's inside the shoe. I do think that it's interesting though that there's this cool little flex groove in there because this freaking midsole looks like it's so big and flat. It's kind of weird, especially compared to the last few where they've really slimmed things up, contoured them and everything. It's just big and bulky, and I think that that's very strange. You don't sit inside the midsole either. You sit on top of it. A little bit worried about that with this upper, lateral movements and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully it's not a problem because they are very tight. A lot of people have been talking about that they go half a size up. I would agree so far because that's what I did. I am curious what's going to happen the more that I play in them though. I don't know if it'll stretch and break into the point where I'm like, man, I wish that I went with my true size, or is this going to be a Kyrie situation, Kyrie 6 specifically, where it's like, what the f did you guys build this on? Because the Kyrie 6s are really tight. Now the upper on these guys, I think is probably the coolest part, even though not on this colorway. And it's because it reminds me of one of my favorite shoes from Nike, and that's these guys right here. This is the Nike Zoom Glove, Gary Payton shoe. These are dope. I really wish that they would remake these properly because this retro, while I was happy to grab it, it's complete compared to like the original product. Like they removed all the tech in it. There's no 4-foot zoom in these like they're supposed to be. There's no carbon fiber shank like they're supposed to be. The heel zoom unit, they put a little tiny one, a little hex unit. It's not even a real bag. I'm just like, what happened, man? So if you guys wanted to remake these but do it right, like what you've been doing with the Air Max retros and like the Penny retros and stuff, like do that. I would appreciate it. Oh no, it's starting to separate from the midsole. It's time to re-release these now. But the upper on these guys reminds me of that. I think that's what part of the inspiration was. The difference though is that what they could do with uppers now, like this style of upper is like incredible compared to back in the day. Back in the day, that solid look is all you got. Like they had tons of colorways of not the glove, but the son of glove, which is like the cheaper model. But they have a ton of colorways of those. Basically, it was just different color blockings, solid colored shoe, whether it was UNC, red, black, white, whatever. This though, you can print stuff into it now, which is something that they didn't have when we were younger, which is something that they did with quite a few of these, like the retros and stuff. They printed into the upper, which is cool. So you can tell stories in that way, which is what the whole Gatorade thing is all about. I personally don't really care though about the Gatorade, but if you do, then that's awesome. I don't even really drink Gatorade anymore. It's like not good for your teeth. It's not even good for your body unless you're actually like profusely sweating. But you open it up there and inside is a full-on booty shoe. It was very hard to get these things on. It's all connected. There was no stretch or anything. I had to work. So if you're in a store and you're trying these on, like me, sometimes you start sweating.
Bring some Gatorade.
Yeah, bring some Gatorade because you're gonna have to do a little bit of work to try these things on. That's actually a big turnoff for a lot of people.
You've watched me struggle with shoes and be like, I don't want them, I'm done.
Like for a basketball shoe, to me, like as long as like it eventually breaks in, I don't think that that's a problem, but the majority of consumers are casual. And if you can't get in the shoe quickly and easily, that's a problem. But just as a warning, they are tough to get on. Once you're in the shoe though, they're very tight, dude. And I'm not talking about like around my foot, I'm talking about lengthwise. My toe is right at the edge and this is a 9.5. I'm normally a 9. And already with a 9, like my toe is typically at the edge. So that's crazy to me. So again, I'm curious to see what's gonna happen once you break these in. Is it gonna stretch to the point of, oh, I could have gone down to my regular size or whatever, or maybe even like for some people like wide footers up a full size? I'm not sure. Stay tuned, we'll let you know in a few weeks. One thing I do like though is the visual aesthetics on this high. I think it's cool, even though this is like a little bit black canary-ish.
Oh, like our fishnets?
Yes. But inside here, you can actually see some of the components of the shoe. I think it's a little bit more visual on the black pair just because it's a huge contrast of color. But on this guy, if you try to, everything's connected right to this collar. I don't think that was a good idea. This should have been a little bit more of a shroud just for access reasons, but you know, you can't get into anything. But under here, you have the nylon lacing. You have some synthetic leather panels that are kind of like the real like secured lockdown stuff. They are on both sides. You just can't see them very well, but that's why they have it netted on that side to show you what's underneath the shroud, which is quite different than this. You can actually like pull these down and, you know, see the inner workings of the shoe itself. But that pretty much takes care of it for these guys. Just a quick look and first impression. I'm excited to play in these. Apparently everybody else is too, because I put these up with, I still haven't started the Why Not 03s. As soon as I got the Kobe 5 Pro Tro, I was just excited playing those. So I was like, everything else. Then once these came in, I was like, man, I don't know which one to do first. I want to just go in order, but I left it up to you guys, and everybody pretty much on my Instagram said these. There was a few why nots and all that stuff. It does have its fans, but most people are interested in the I keep wanting to call it Zoom Strobel, but the Air Strobel board and how it feels and stuff. This to me really does feel like the original 11. And this is what you get if you take one of those retros, like an Air Jordan 7, an Air Jordan 10, or an Air Jordan 11, and you actually put in some work and break them in for basketball. You eventually get this feeling in there. The great basketball shoes for performance if you're looking for a retro product. You know something that I'm feeling right now that it's not in there? I don't know if there's a torsional plate again.
They just filled it with air.
Maybe. Oh, speaking of which, you can see it through the little window right there. That's their little peaking visual and all that stuff. But again, that takes care of everything. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all your support. Stay tuned for the performance review in the coming weeks, and let us know what you think about these down below in the comments section. Let us know if you've tried these on, by the way, because these did release overseas already, and then they staggered the release for the US. So if you've tried them on in your area, did they fit you true to size? Was it a half size up, half size down? What was it? Sound off below. Let us know. Thank you once again, and until next time, guys, have a good one.